So earlier this year in mid-January, I made a video outlining some of my predictions for this year as a whole. Some came to pass, others really didn't, and then a few that are still undecided. Just as a quick run through, I correctly predicted the following. I said Rose Namajunas would rise back up to become strawweight champion, that Francis Ngannou would knock out Stipe to win the heavyweight strap, TJ Dillashaw would inject his name back into title contention with a win. Kamaru Usman would retain his title, although this is still not 100% certain. As far as the predictions that are still up in the air, we first have Nate Diaz getting finished, which is pretty unlikely at this point in time, unless he gets back in there before the end of the year, although I have heard recently that he's interested in a December return, so who knows. I also picked Brian Ortega to become champion, a prediction that I'm kind of torn on now because, if anything, I've grown into an even bigger fan of Alexander Volkanovski. Another one that may still happen, although it's certainly unlikely, I said that Amanda Nunes would finally meet her maker, either at bantamweight or featherweight. I think I may have had too much faith in the growth of both of these divisions, because as of right now, I don't see a contender there who can do it. And finally, I picked John Jones to lose his first UFC matchup, which definitely won't come to pass, given his absence from the sport this year. As far as the duds, the less said about my Conor McGregor comeback pick the better. He's obviously not getting anywhere near that lightweight title this year. I also picked Israel Adesanya to become a double champ, which obviously didn't work out, but all in all it was a bit of fun. And though the predictions I did get right weren't exactly the most controversial picks, 40% with a few left undecided ain't too bad. For this video, however, I'm gonna stick my neck out there a bit more just for the sake of fun. So with that out of the way, here are some predictions for the final third of 2021. Gigashikaze finishes Edson Barboza with a kick. Edson Barboza has looked pretty decent at featherweight, and surprisingly enough, he finds himself on a 2-fight win streak after dropping a split decision to Dan Ige in his debut. However, with Gigashikaze in front of him for August 28th, I think his 145-pound resurgence is about to come to a crashing halt. Shikaze is a man who many, myself included, have pegged as a future contender, and I think for my prediction, while picking him to win is easy, I'm gonna back this Georgian prospect to get the job done with a kick, either to straight up find the finish on Edson, or to begin the finishing sequence with one. Justin Gaethje knocks out Michael Chandler with an uppercut, because if I'm gonna give a fairly straightforward Gaethje knockout pick, where's the fun in that? We're in the business of picking exact techniques, folks, and with an eye on this pivotal lightweight clash in November, I'm gonna put my money on Gaethje catching Chandler up close and personal, shutting the former Bellator legend down with an uppercut. Seriously, if I actually make this pick correctly, I'm setting up a GoFundMe, and every single one of you who hits that dislike button on this video owes me the price of a pint. I'm sorry. I love Michael Chandler as much as the next man, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed here for a violent conclusion. Nick Diaz gets knocked out in the opening minute. Okay, this one definitely pains me right in my soul. As some of you will know, I'm a huge Nick Diaz fan. Always have been, always will be. But every time I think about his upcoming matchup with Robbie Lawler, I think of the former champion's early barrage against Donald Cerrone, where Robbie went hell for leather in the opening 30 seconds of their matchup, battering the famously slow-starting Cowboy in the hopes of an early finish. Given Nick's absence from competition, I'm actually terrified that Lawler will do the same and try to get this finished as soon as possible, and I think that would end badly for the 38-year-old Diaz. Francis Ngannou and Ciryl Gane each score a takedown, because picking either man to win would be far too obvious. Honestly, my thoughts on Ngannou versus Gane are pretty much the same as most people's. It's either going to be Francis early, or a long drawn-out clinic from Gane. I would hope that they fight by the end of the year, and if that does happen, I'm not going to bore you with a straightforward fight result prediction. No, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty here, folks. I'm simply predicting that both men will score a takedown before the fight is over. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'm content to leave it at that. On a side note, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads, before leaving a comment to let YouTube's algorithms know that we are fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. Brian Ortega submits Alexander Volkanovski in the 3rd round. If I had an opportunity to change my January predictions around, I would, but since I picked Ortega to become champion, even with my fandom of Volkanovski in mind, I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. To be fair to him, Ortega looked insanely good against Korean Zombie, bringing a level of polish to the striking department that would almost make you forget that he's an absolute wizard on the mat. So ahead of his fight for the featherweight title, I'm backing him to bring both a full head of hair and a 3rd round submission win to the UFC 266 main event. Kamaru Usman KOs Colby Covington stiff, and I don't mean a TKO here, a case of not intelligently defending yourself. The improvements made by Kamaru Usman in the striking department have been truly terrifying of late, and after watching him nearly decapitate the famously durable Jorge Masvidal, I don't think seeing him spark Colby Covington is out of the question. I think the instant classic that was their first matchup will give way to a much cleaner resolution at the second time of asking. Dustin Poirier TKOs Charles Oliveira in the second round. Again, this isn't an overly outlandish pick, and honestly a part of me wanted to turn heel and call the Oliveira submission victory. But to be fair to Dustin Poirier, I do believe that this year will end with him finally reaching UFC gold. And though Oliveira is certainly an excellent fighter, I just think that Poirier is proving himself to be the type of guy who is made to exceed expectations. And though a lot of us made the mistake of counting him out repeatedly in the past, that time is definitely at an end. So yeah, second round TKO for the long-awaited coronation of the Diamond. Joe Rogan drops the mic. And finally, this one will be a bit of an outlier, but I'm going to stick my neck out there and say that at the very least, the famed UFC color commentator Joe Rogan will give some form of indication as to when he will be finally ready to leave the UFC. It had been brewing a few years back, but as one final prediction, I'm willing to bet that we will have a better idea of where the end of the road is by the time 2021 is through. So yeah, that'll just about do it. I'd be a very happy man if I were to make 3 out of these 8 picks, but in reality, the world of fighting is a crazy one, so let's just see how it goes. But what did you make of my predictions? And what are your own personal predictions on what we're about to see between now and December 31st? Do let us know your opinions in the comment section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.